So a real question is, despite all of the way in which the Cleveland Cavaliers, the OKC Thunder are dominating in their respective conferences in the league, why is why is no one taking them seriously? Like why is no one truly giving them the respect that they deserve when you talk about them being capable of winning the championship? Yeah, maybe because Cleveland is in the East and they got to go through Boston, but they've been hanging with Boston this year. And yeah, maybe because OKC is in a gauntlet of the West, but they are 11 games up on the next closest person right now, which is the Denver Nuggets. And we all think they can beat the Denver Nuggets in 7 games. But the question is, despite them already being at 50 wins apiece with still 20 games to go, why is no one taking these two teams seriously? They have the superstars, they have the coaching, they have the size, they have the depth for the most part. Why is no one taking them serious when we talk about winning a championship? You know what? And I narrowed it down to 5 things. It's why I think is the reason no one is taking them seriously. That no one uh, believes that they are ready to win. Right? I think it's 5 things. And so I want to go over those 5 things really quick and break them down. We're not gonna be here forever, but I want to break those 5 things down as to what, from just research and from peeping things and paying attention and watching things and just seeing it. This has to be why, in my opinion. And I may be missing some, but I think these are 5 key things as to why nobody's taking these two teams seriously right now. Number one being a lack of proven playoff success. Um, before when KD and Westbrook left, the Thunder had not really made any noise. And then you slowly over time but surely started to see Sam Presti put this amazing team together with Shea and Jalen Williams and and Hardenstein recently, and then Chet when he came from Gonzaga. Like you slowly started to see this thing come together. And the same thing in Cleveland. After LeBron left, Cleveland was irrelevant. And then Donovan Mitchell decides to come over. Darius Garland emerges as the starting point guard of this franchise when they decide to part ways with Colin Sexton. Evan Mobley is drafted from USC, right? Jared Allen comes over from Brooklyn. And you slowly start to see these rosters come together. And outside of Donovan Mitchell, who has ever made a significant playoff push run? And even Donovan Mitchell, has he ever really made a significant playoff run? Not really. Even though he was number one team in the West, I talk about it all the time. He was the number one team in the West with the Jazz a few years back. Won 60 something games, I believe, and got put out in the first round. So when you just look at these teams, despite how great they are, despite how good they look in the regular season, I think the reason that most people are doubting them and overlooking them and even disrespecting them is because they don't have a proven track record of making a deep run, either because they've gotten there and not been able to win, or dealt with injuries, or dealt with different things, or coaching, whatever, or just never been able to get to the playoffs at all. And in this game, until you prove it, it's hard to believe in it. Until you've shown that you can rise to those occasions when a team has you figured out and know everything you like to do, and they studied you for 7 games in a row, can you still win? They haven't been able to show that yet. Neither team, and neither superstar on either team, nor the role players, nor the second best players. Nobody's been able to prove that yet. So when you talk about one of the reasons why nobody's taking these two teams seriously, I think this is number one. They haven't proven it in the playoffs yet that they can be successful. Number two, they are recently showing themselves as contenders. Now, true enough, OKC had the number one record in the league last year, but again, what happened? They got put out in the second round. Right? Cleveland wasn't terrible last year, but they dealt with injury and they didn't have a lot of key pieces, and they didn't have the depth in which they have this year either. This is why you go get a DeAndre Hunter. Why you're happy to have Evan Mobley and have Jared Allen back. A reason why I think Kenny Atkinson has been doing a damn good job as a coach this year is because he's putting the ball in Evan Mobley's hand even more. He's utilizing the size and the length in which he has, doing big on big screens between Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. Darius Garland really dictate and flow of the game. And then you got Donovan Mitchell to bring you home. And the same thing with OKC, man. They've been dominant, but they haven't been dominant for very long. And so when it comes to that, you're going to say you just got here. So we can't necessarily think that you can do this for long periods of time or that you can keep up this same type of level of play. Again, when somebody's been studying you for 7 games, can you still be the same contender that we watched all year? And because it's so recent that you've been making this type of run and success, especially the way the Cavs and the Thunder and both really teams have been dominating this year. Can you dominate like that 4 games and win? We don't know. Another one, perception bias toward established franchises. It's so much easier when a franchise has won 18 banners or 17 banners or, what is it for Golden State? 4 banners. To want to always point to the finger and say, yeah, those two teams are winning 60 plus games, but you can't count out a Steph Curry. You can't count out a LeBron James. You can't count out a Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown. Not just because of who the players are, but because of who the franchises are. And to be honest with you, when it comes to basketball franchises and relevant teams and the best players in the league are what sell tickets. And don't get me wrong, I know people are going to go watch Shea and Donovan Mitchell and all those people because they're superstars in their own right. The teams are good. But it's the safe thing to do, especially in media and for analysts, is just to say, but what about the Warriors? What about the Lakers? What about the Celtics? Hell, what about the Nuggets? It's safe because Jokic just won 3 of the last 4 MVPs. It's easier to go to what is established and has proven that they can win and proven that they can rise to the moment if they get to the moment. And so the natural thing to say is that, hey, if Steph can just get there, if LeBron can just get there, if Jokic can just get there, you can't count them out. And we don't know if we can say the same thing about this Thunder team or this Cavs team. If they get there, that they'll be able to finish. And I think that if they can show that this year, all that doubt goes away. Just like with Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown. They got there several times. They've been if you haven't noticed that Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum have either gone to the Eastern Conference Finals or the finals or a deep playoff run every single year that they've been together, pretty much. But the problem was, and what people were starting to question, even though they were still significantly young when they won, is that when they get there, can they finish the job? Which is why so many people have their doubts. And that's the same thing with these two teams. They can't even get there that far yet. But if they do, when they do, can they finish? It's real. Defensive and depth considerations. Now, with the Cavs, I'm not so much worried about the depth. I think they're deep enough. I think DeAndre Hunter makes them significantly better. I don't think they've lost a game since he's been there. That's no accident. Now with OKC, I am worried about the depth because with Shea's off the floor, can you still produce enough points? Can you still defend at a high level consistently for both the Cavs and the Thunder? Right? Even if your offense isn't clicking, can you still get that same effort and energy and pay attention to detail and focus on the stars of the other team, even if shots aren't falling? Because young-minded teams that have never been in a situation, even when their shots aren't falling, they don't have something to hang their hat on, which is the defensive end, right? And when your stars aren't maybe at their best, Donovan Mitchell isn't giving you 40 every night in a playoff game because their defensive plan on him is working. Who can Evan Mobley do what he's supposed to do? Because the Cavs, to be honest with you, can only go as far as Evan Mobley can take them being a second option. Darius Garland is great. He's going to be heading the ship when it comes to controlling the game. Yes, Jared Allen is going to have some great moments. Yes, DeAndre Hunter and that bench is going to be great. We know that. But if Evan Mobley isn't your number 2 option and consistently your number 2 option, it doesn't even matter. And if Shea has to play 48 minutes just for the offense to run smoothly, if Jay Williams can't step up and truly be the number 2 option this year in the playoffs, if Chet can stay healthy and be a good number 3 option, right? If OKC's bench can rise to the occasion, Aaron Wiggins and Hardenstein and Caruso, which is what I think you want to go get a guy like Caruso to help, bring a calmness to that team, a vet to that team that has won as a champion. Can you be consistent? Right? That's a big thing. And number 5, I think it's the size of the teams and the franchises, and kind of goes back to what I talked about earlier. Not so much an established franchise that's just pretty to talk about. When LeBron left, nobody really thought about Cleveland, right? When if it wasn't for the OKC Thunder, nobody talks about Oklahoma City. And so those aren't necessarily pretty franchises, so to speak, but they're relevant in their being talked about now because of what they're doing on the court and the superstars in which they have. But it's always a better NBA if you have a Lakers in Boston in the finals. It's always a better NBA if you got Steph, KD, LeBron in the finals. But maybe these new teams are saying that it's time for somebody else to take over, but you got to go take it because it's not going to be given. And so when you talk about why is no one taking OKC in the Cavaliers series, I think these are the top 5 reasons. Now, yes, there may be some more that I forgot about that I didn't think about or I didn't consider, but these are the top 5. And I would love to hear from you guys about what you think is the reason why nobody takes this team seriously. So I want y'all to comment on that and let me know. Be sure to like, subscribe to this video, and hope I gave you some insight and taught you some new things that you didn't think about before. I love y'all so much, man, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace.